all that joy. I appreciate that. As we step into our inspiration moment, that's going to come from Neville Goddard, 365 Daily Reader. The Word of God is not a sound. It is your imaginal act clothed in feeling. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. John 1:1. Creation begins with the inner word, the imaginal decree backed by emotion. When you say within yourself, I am, and add a quality, you have spoken the word that cannot return unto you void. Every idle word, every careless assumption frames the world that we experience. So guard your inner speech, for it builds tomorrow's conditions. The mind forever mutters. Train it to repeat the blessings. Train it to repeat the blessings instead of complaints. Words saturated with faith move mountains because they impress the subconscious with certainty. You need not shout. Whisper the decree in consciousness and let the feeling seal it. Once spoken inwardly in truth, the creative word continues to vibrate until it externalizes as fact. Speak deliberately, lovingly, and with authority. Today's affirmation: my words are divine decrees. What I feel and affirm becomes flesh. Today's action: observing our inner talk for 1 hour, or, however your day goes. And if it turns negative, replace it immediately with a statement of blessing.
Good morning. Our second inspirational message today is from our co-founder of Unity, Myrtle Fillmore. And she, if you did not know, well, I think everybody in here knows, but just in case, she healed herself from tuberculosis completely because she knew how to think and feel and connect with the ultimate capital T truth of who she was. So this is what she says to us. And the title is Wholeness. By the way, it's from How to Let God Help You, which is a fabulous book, by the way. Okay, wholeness. What is the spiritual meaning of the words health and to heal? The words are from the same root as the word whole. A state of health is a condition of wholeness, completeness, and entireness. The word holy is from the same root as the word heal. Holiness and health in their root significance are the same and are a state of wholeness. In the system of Christ, holiness and health are joined. The one is the internal spiritual state, and the other is the corresponding bodily condition. True health is a result and the outpicturing of Christ ideas in thought, word, and act. The Spirit, I consider this, I being Myrtle, I consider this the secret of my success in healing. That the spiritual revelation that God is in actuality our Father and is the source of our life and the substance of our bodies. As soon as I saw this truth, I realized that He who created us and He who continues to sustain us is also patterning us after His own perfect ideas. And that whatever He has created, He can restore. It is up to you to accept your God-given perfection for yourself, to put aside past mistakes and untrue suggestions, and fix your undivided attention upon the Creator of your inner pattern of perfection. This is the secret of success in all spiritual treatments. You must bring all of your mental attitudes, the centers of your consciousness, and even your physical structures to this high place in divine mind, where you see as God sees. In this spiritual viewpoint, you are able to name all that is within you according to the patterns of spirit. Thus, you are able to use these soul qualities to outpicture rightly their true creative possibilities. And now together we repeat the affirmation 3 times. I accept my God-given perfection. I accept my God-given perfection. I accept my God-given perfection.
Thank you so much. All right, let's take a breath. Close our eyes for a moment and settle into this time and this space. And I don't know what your takeaway from that beautiful song was, but my takeaway is there's a lot of love in these troubled fields. There's a lot of love. There's more than enough love. There's more than enough love. There is more than enough love to walk this life, our individual lives, our collective world, and meet any and everything that arises with love. And as Myrtle said, and Charles says, from our divine identity, from our I am identity. I know this community was built on this. I know that this community thrives because of its divine identity. And I know that we come together every Sunday to be reminded of the truth of our beingness so that we are rooted, grounded, centered, thriving, growing from this place. So that wherever we are the light and the love in the room. So I just give thanks for this time. I give thanks for all of you. I give thanks for those who are watching with us online. I call this time good. I call it perfect. And together we say, and so it is. I'm really thrilled that the reading came from Myrtle because I did talk about her last week, so thank you for that. And I wanted to dive into Charles Fillmore just a touch before we move on. Mystical identification with I am. Charles Fillmore believed there was a great power for transformation in identifying with our words, I am. The following quote will help us understand his reasoning. If you can think of yourself as spirit, as having all power and capacity, what is the result? Why? Why you begin to expand and you go up onto this high place in your consciousness. As I say, you begin to realize that I am being lifted up. And as I lift up my I am, why all of my thoughts are attracted to that high place because it is the magnet. It is the focal power of all ideas. That was never published until several years after he passed. And I'll just take that healing story just a little bit further and tell you that because of Myrtle's demonstration, because she stood in being a perfect child of a perfect God, that illness does not exist in that. He, who had an injury when he was young and lost 4 inches off of one of his legs, grew 3 inches back into standing in his I am identity and truth. And both of them, when they passed, it was not because of sickness or anything like that. It was because their mission was done. So I take my inspiration from them and all of the greats and all of the New Thought movement. How are we identifying ourselves? Are we identifying ourselves with our I am nature? We might not realize it. I'm happy. I'm grateful. I'm not going to say some of the other things that hopefully nobody in this room says, but sometimes I'll tell on a friend of mine who doesn't do it anymore. She used to say, I'm tired all the time, and I've known her 30 plus years, and probably about 15 years into the relationship, I said, girl, do you realize you say that every time I see you and several times throughout like our exchange? She goes, I do say that a lot. I was like, what if you just stopped saying it? And so I saw her about 3 months later, and she said, girl, I have so much more energy. And I was like, And that was kind of like the first time that I realized, I know the scriptures tell us that life and death is in the power of the tongue, right? As a man thinketh, so is he. And sometimes I get that and sometimes I don't. So since giving the talk last week about who do we say we are, I really paid attention to my thinking. I'm very introspective. I told myself last week that I'm kind of geeky and I love the image of Inspector Clouseau because that helps me lighten up as I investigate, right? Especially if I find something that I don't think is good or I don't want to be experiencing or contributing, because I believe our thoughts, spoken and unspoken, are a contribution to the whole, right? So if my thinking is stinking, then I'm adding to that in the world. So anyway, as I did this investigation this week, there was sometimes I was really pleased at that dialogue that runs, and there were sometimes I was like, please be quiet. And then I was like, well, maybe don't be quiet, because how do I know what's operating in my life if I can't be with it? And so I did a little bit of a different practice this week of like trying to sit in that and seeing, to whom does this thought come? Who am I? Who do I say that I am? Who do I believe that I am? Do I really, with every fiber of my beingness, believe that I am the great I am made manifest? It was very enlightening. There were moments when I absolutely know. And then there were moments, I didn't really have much of a challenge this week. However, on Friday, I went to go out, and as some of y'all know, I just got myself a new car. It was gifted to me, right? And the driver's side door is like all scratched up. And I'm like, what the heck? Where did that come from? How did that happen? And I was like, I didn't run into anything. And it wasn't there the night before, and I was parked in a friend's driveway, so I really couldn't understand it. So I don't remember where I was going, but I had a good amount of time to be in the car, and I was driving, and it was like, I can't believe this happened, my beautiful new car. And I was like, hold on. That is not the thing to focus on. And it just kept bobbing and weaving. And then I just decided, like, let me just be with that. What's underneath of that? Oh, it's going to cost me money to fix that. I hadn't planned for that. What's underneath that? Scarcity. Okay, wait a minute. I just said that the infinite's life is my life, that the opulence of the universe is my opulence. What am I really believing? And so it was this dance the whole time, back and forth. And also that lovely little voice said, you can't be speaking about your I am identity on Sunday when you're all crazy about some scratches in your car door. Like, who would want to listen to you? And for a second, I believed it, and then I was like, wait a minute, hold up. You don't get to negate my whole life because I got some scratches on the car door. So I got a little perspective. And I like to tell on myself because, one, it's how I hold myself accountable to the truth. Also, because I'm a bit of a nerd, I really, really love like Charles Fillmore, Myrtle, and Raymond Charles Barker, and I could go on and on and on. And it doesn't just have to be our New Thought founders, but I love their steadfastness. I love that they're unwavering. And I don't want to be like a ship tossed in the wind, right? Somebody cuts you off in traffic, and then you get all teed off about it. I know y'all don't do that here, because Kim, you guys, I know she holds y'all accountable, or we hold ourselves accountable anyway. But yeah, I don't want to be giving my peace up, or our prosperity, right? Because, the second we say, I can't, maybe we don't see it in our bank account, but if we're speaking from my I am nature, what we know is that the universe is abundant. There's no shortage of resources anywhere in the world. Somebody in a village might be experiencing that, and then someone else comes along with this beautiful invention of how to create water. So we have evidence everywhere around us that life lacks nothing. We experience lack because life is a mirror of our consciousness. And as Laura read from Wholeness, I'm going to invite us this week to really think into, do we feel ourselves as whole, perfect, and complete? Do you really, even if you would love to or not love to in this moment, I'm going to invite you to just go inside for a second and just listen, just for a few seconds. What is running through your head right now? Is it your to-do list? Is it something that didn't go right? Is it gratitude for breath and sight in your car or your vehicle or your friend or your family member that got you here? Is it gratitude for the resources that you currently have? Is it gratitude if you have this, then more will be given? Or are you wondering where the next more is going to come from? Are you anchored in what's not working? And no judgment. No judgment, as Kathy's saying beautifully in the song, right? We're going to do that with love, because that is also our I am identity. I mentioned last week that how do you know that life is always for more life? Our breath. None of us counted our breath this week. How many of us actually were thankful for that? I used to be an asthmatic, and I had to take a lot of medicine, and then switched my diet to raw. And eventually that went away. I also used to have a ton of allergies. So I really think on a regular basis about breath and gratitude because, I've had some episodes where I didn't. But it doesn't just have to be an external thing, right? For those of us that are single that want to share our life with someone, or for those of us that have partners that sometimes, I'm not going to say anybody in here says that. They might get on our nerves or do something a different way than we'd like them, or roommates that might put something somewhere that you can't find, right? What are we thinking? What are we identifying with? Who are we identifying? I mean, think about it. The infinite hung the stars in the sky and holds the seas in its shores. People travel to the moon and they come back. They don't get lost out there in the abyss, right? So somebody made this incredible vehicle to go beyond Earth and time and space and visit. The sun has not come crashing to the earth. There is a power in this universe that is so majestic and so sufficient and so intelligent that on this planet, 8 billion people are living and dying simultaneously. Life is growing, new babies are being born, people are being told, you'll never be able to do that, and then somebody just knocks that right out of the park as if it was nothing. That stuff is what we are made of. That is our true identity, even before our physical name in time and space. That is the root of our beingness. Charles Fillmore and Myrtle, they invite us to contemplate that on a regular basis. I don't know about y'all. If I have a long way to go, when I hop in the car or somewhere, I usually put on something. I like to feed my consciousness. There was a speaker once, and I don't remember her name, but I also remember Terry McMillan, that was her name, saying this as well. When she's not speaking or working in her garden or with another person, she's constantly feeding her consciousness. She didn't watch movies or TV and stuff like that. She wanted to stay, right? Keep thine eyes single. I think I used that last week, and thy whole body will be full of light. Well, I don't know about y'all. These eyes wander a little bit more than I'd like them to. So it's really important for me to keep my consciousness centered. And so I invite us to just notice this week, just gently notice, like the assignment today, for an hour. Am I identifying with my I amness? Am I identifying with the I am in you? You know that greeting, namaste, the divine in me greets the divine in you. I did, as I've said many times, a lot of years in customer service, and irate people would come on my line, and supervisors would be like, Alva, if you need me to take that, I was like, I got it. And I would say the whole time the person is yelling, namaste, 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 under my breath, so I didn't jump into the crazy soup with them, because if we're both crazy, that's not going to solve anything, right? And then I would listen to that person, calm down, and sometimes not, and I would be like, wow, I hear that you're really passionate about that, you're really upset. I'd love to be part of the solution. Can we work this problem together? And people that had been banned from our call center for 3 or 6 months because they were so unpleasant, they would ask for me. And my supervisor would be like, what are you doing? And of course they listen to your calls, right? And they're like, how are you so patient? And I was like, I don't know, maybe if I was him, I'd be mad about that too, because, when you work, I worked with insurance agents for New York Life. That's their money. Some of them are just like us, supporting loved ones that have special needs, right? And so if we don't approve their applications, that's going to make them look bad to their clients, and that's going to impact their bottom line. And in order for them to have a certain percentage, they had to hit a certain mark, So I don't know why all of that would go through my brain at the time, but that and probably treating people the way I want to be treated. Because I'm not going to tell you that I always remember. I try not to vomit on people, not this word vomit. I hope that wasn't too gross of an image. Sorry about that, if it was. But, but I do that. I give myself those images, right? So I don't let myself off the hook. It's how I hold myself accountable. So yesterday, I went to a workshop. David Zellman is the author, and the name of his book is What's Next? Getting Clear and Get Going. And I learned something really, really cool. He calls it that thing that the mind does where it always goes to the worst possible outcome. He calls that the psychological paradigm. And as Joe Dispenza and many have said, the brain is still hardwired as if we are running around with saber-toothed tigers and dinosaurs. Like it's trying to protect us from getting hurt. It's doing its job. The beauty of those of us that practice New Thought that are in this community is our job is to allow the I am to be the guiding consciousness. Not the limbic system that does get triggered, that does see danger, is to remember our safety is in our identity. Our safety is in knowing that we are the infinite made manifest. And the fact that it woke us up this morning, it has need of us. Emerson says, life has need of an organ named you. How will you assume the post? We decide if we're going to be peaceful, if we're going to be happy, if we're going to be harmonious, or we're going to embody joy, or we're going to embody silence. Sometimes we might roll out of bed and be a little cranky if you didn't sleep well, or you got some aches and pains or whatever. I'm not asking anybody to raise their hand in this room. But sometimes, have you ever caught yourself talking about something and you didn't want to be talking about it, and you're like, crap. Maybe you didn't say that, but perhaps you said, dang, I didn't mean to talk about that. I didn't want to put that out there. So what Dave also says is, good, you noticed. It didn't feel right. Last week I talked about pay attention to how you feel, right? Our spirit lets us know when we're saying something that's out of harmony with the truth of our beingness. So let's be like the guitar and Kathy's beautiful voice. Fine-tune the instrument of the divine that we are by paying attention to that and then shifting back into our, we can do that with eyes open or eyes closed. On the inhale breath, I. On the exhale breath, am. Last week we talked about I am that I am. Whichever one resonates with us. And we have countless examples in this world of that. And so he also talked about, before you decide what's next, investigate a little bit of what does run. Like pick one thing that you want to do. One thing that maybe mine has said, oh, I'm too old. There's not enough time. I don't have the resources. I don't know how to do that. I don't know about y'all. I do think I'm a little bit of a techie, but compared to like real tech people, probably not. But I know compared to a lot of my friends, I'm way more, I'm like, I'll find out. I'll figure it out, and I just go and do it. Find that thing. Maybe start with something that's a little fun that you want to do instead of maybe something that, could swing you out of center. Find something that you want to do, and you got a little bit of inner resistance, a little bit of inner chatter that is not based on the capital T truth. What would it be like to get going on that thing from the place of I am that great I am? and anything that I want to do, its mind is my mind. So somewhere in here is that knowledge. And if it's not in this vessel, I will be pointed to it. I will be guided to, or I will run into someone, or someone will say something, a song will come on. Have you ever had that happen? You have a thought like, I don't know what to do. What do I do? And then the next thing you know, some complete stranger or someone you know, it's almost as if they were hearing that conversation. They are the great I am, serving its beautiful self, called you, called us. It's not a coincidence. It's absolutely not a coincidence. Consciousness is cause. And the more we notice that, and the more we celebrate the noticing of that, the more it happens over and over and over. I was telling someone that, a couple people yesterday, there was a short that I saw on YouTube, and it said something like, divine mind, show me how easy life can be. Show me how much joy I can have. Show me how much fun I can experience. And I'm geeky, as I've said a zillion times, and I will continue to. I make little reminders in my phone that pop up all throughout the day. Well, I have that. I started that about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, and y'all, it really works. It just, great stuff just keeps happening over and over. Some friends said, oh, meet us for lunch. They paid for my lunch. Okay, thanks. The next day, some other friends said, come and meet us over at White Rock Lake. Okay, they paid for my lunch. Yesterday at the retreat, during our lunchtime, someone said, oh, come go to lunch with us. Okay, they paid for my lunch. I was like, holy cow, how have I not known this all this time, you know? And it was great. We had such a beautiful exchange, all different backgrounds, some people in Landmark. Just that room was filled with 40 people, and we were collectively and individually on fire. And, you know, the people were honest with, like, I think I might be too old for this. And the speaker, he didn't, like, he's not as direct as I am. But he said, that's an interesting thing to say. Would you like more of that? And the person, you know, went on to tell us, he's like, I'm going to stop you. Can we back up to my question? And then he's like, just think for a second about what you said, right? And so as we shift, if it is not already your proclivity and your habit to speak your I am, to speak the word of God intentionally and consciously and deliberately, when you catch yourself, say, hold on a second, and then change your language. And so what if you look goofy? Who cares? I mean, really, it's your creation, right? We're going to get that back. Is it okay? Can you give yourself permission to do that? And I will tell myself, as I learned that words have power when I was at CSL for 10 years in leadership over there, I would stop myself. I'll be up, hold on. That is not the truth. I do not want to put that out into the world. And at first, you know, people were like, what? And then they started laughing, and then they were like, wow. I was like, yeah, because we say at Unity, when I used to go to Unity Grapevine, they used to say our thoughts are prayers, our words are prayers. And a beautiful friend of mine, she says, everything is communion. Every waking hour, we are in communion. We are either in communion with the capital T truth or the illusion that is not the capital T truth that's going to create from those thoughts and feelings and words that we're speaking. So, I don't know if you've had enough mess in your life, but I know I certainly have. So, I'd like to clean it up in real time so that these last however many years I have left is as much heaven and paradise as I can stand, you know. That's my goal anyway. You can join me if you want. If you don't, I won't take it back. I won't be offended. So, I invite us to keep focused this week on our I am identity. And if we need external inspiration or example, it's everywhere, but you can return to Myrtle or Charles or Kim or any of the zillion books that are out there. I mean, I don't know about y'all. I love YouTube. I mean, I don't know if that's everybody's experience, but I love YouTube. And now with my new car, I can listen to it while I'm driving because it has Bluetooth. And it's like, wow. You know, I've been listening to the I Am discourses. And that was written, I want to say in 1932 or 23, one of those numbers. And they kind of say something like Abraham, but a little bit more strong and direct. They're like, we do not understand why y'all allow your consciousness to go in any direction other than your divine identity. And I was like, okay, that's a nice little whack upside the head. Like, don't tolerate that mental foolishness for 1 second. And really, why would we? Every breath, every minute is so precious. Even if that person, so we're with someone or in a situation that feels annoying or scary. The speaker yesterday, Dave, said he was talking about his grandkids, and I don't know where his daughter and her husband went, but they had 3 of them, a 4-year-old, an 8-year-old, and an 11-year-old. He could totally identify with the 8 and 11. The 4-year-old, he was like, oh my God, there wasn't a moment of silence. And I just spent a month with my 5-year-old grandson, and I was just like, wow, he can talk. And that's saying a lot because I talk a lot. From the minute his little eyes wake up, I think I said this last week, so if I'm repeating myself, forgive me. And mastery is through repetition, because that's what we're talking about, right? With the I am identity, identifying that. That's going to take us doing that over and over and over and over. Repetition is the mother of mastery. So anyway, Sonny, I used to get like from 5 to 6 of quiet. And depending upon if he stays awake till 10, then I don't get up until 6. Well, even though I'm silent, even though I don't listen to my meditation stuff because I don't want to make too much noise or too much movement, that boy knows. The second my eyes pop up and he's like, Bibi, good morning. Do you want to play a game? What do you want to do? Can we do this? Could you make me a smoothie at 5 o'clock in the morning, Sonny? Everybody in the house is asleep. I'm like, can we just read a book? No. How about we do Legos? Okay, because he's not going to let me rest until I do. And so he was saying that that psychological paradigm is all based on the past. So the filter of the psychological paradigm is a bit cloudy, right? Because maybe it was before we ever came through the doors in unity, and we used to think, oh, nothing ever works out for me, life is too hard, oh, that's just part of aging, or whatever the math story is that we might have bought or picked up along the way, right? And so with the youngest grandkid, his filter about him was kind of similar to mine. And then he said, wait a minute. This little brilliant mind wakes up sharp and alert and is on that alertness all day long. And I was sitting in my seat like, okay, God, message received. Did you have to tell the whole room? That's how I'm viewing Sonny. And I had thought about that, though. I was like, I need to go to sleep, whether he goes to sleep or not when we go to bed, at 8:30. Because there's a chance that he's probably going to wake up at 5, which is my what used to be my meditation time, and cannot be meditation. Can I play with the sweet little soul fully present? Can you be with your beloved, whether it's your mother or a relative or your partner or in your job? Because that's the beloved. Whoever we're with, that is the beloved, whether we see them that way or not. Can you be with them fully present in their own unique way, whether it's grumpy or talkative or silent, or my mom now with dementia? I never know. I just go kind of with an open heart and an open mind and see what we get. And when she's cranky and I get charged, I go in the other room and I remind myself, just love, serving love. Just love, serving love, and I'm scrubbing something, So whatever we have to do, but can we do that? What if this person, I said this last week too, and I'm going to say this a lot because I'm saying it to everybody I talk to. The thing I think, is it Mary? Is that your name? Linda, sorry. I didn't want to say it wrong, so, but I did. Anyway, I was just telling Linda that those things that challenge us, I'm leaning into those as a precious gift. Because the first thing is ding, ding, ding. You are not in your I am identity. Those thoughts are not the capital T truth, right? And then the second thing is like, oh, wow, thank you for showing me that this is still operating in my consciousness and outplaying in my experience. And then you shift to the capital T truth. That's what the I am. There's so many books that say that. I won't bore y'all to tears by referencing all of them. But we've got all these reminders all around us. And it doesn't even have to be a song that you sing. Like you sing a song about the farm. How much beauty. Yeah, it might take a lot of work on those places that seem really hard when we're really convinced that, no, this person is really just a crotchety blah, 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 or ungrateful, or whatever the story is that we have. Or no, this situation is really hard, and there's like $0 in the bank for this, or whatever that thing is. If we stand in our I am identity, that is the place where the divine is seeking to express itself more freely and fully and powerfully than ever before. So really, this is the geek talking now, it's something to get excited about. It's like, oh, okay, so there is a divine solution, as Wayne Dyer said, right? There's a solution, there's a spiritual solution for every problem, right? There is a divine solution to this. Okay, Spirit, I'm going to do my part, and I'm going to keep my mind and heart open, and should it, wander around, get a little squirrely, I'm going to keep coming back to center. And I know that you will reveal it to me, whether it's you reveal it to me directly, through my own consciousness, or someone that I meet that says a word and you're like, wait, what? Were they listening to my prayer? And we don't even live in the same place, right? Look for that. Start to look for all the ways the divine shows up, no matter whether it feels good or it doesn't feel good. If it feels good, yes, definitely praise that. Praise the good so that we have more of that. And the other, I wouldn't say praise it, but I would say give thanks for it. Thank you for showing me this. Because for those who garden or have a green thumb, don't you tend to your plants and you pull the weeds? That's all we're doing. That's all we're doing when we shift. And I want to say one other thing, and then I'll wrap up. The beautiful part now about living from our divine identity, identifying that what we speak I am about is principle is not bound by precedent. And what do I mean by that? The past has no bearing in the present unless we say it does. No bearing whatsoever. Clean slate, because even though we've been here since whatever time you got here, this moment right here is a brand new baby moment. And the only way that past has any power in the present is how? Our thoughts, our words, our actions. And that might take us a little bit of time to master. But if you do it with something easy, and maybe pick something that you love that reminds you of that, so you have that association. When it's something more challenging, that will support us in that. And if anybody in this room likes sports of any kind, athletes defy gravity all the time. We don't even probably know some of the injuries that doctors tell them, oh, you need to retire, blah-bitty, blah-bitty, and they go on until they're ready to leave, right? So we have so much physical evidence that the divine is always, always, always for itself as you, as me, as us, as we. So, as they say in my old traditional church, why do you prove God? Prove it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. That's why you're here in this community, right? Is to prove your capital T truth, is to live. The kingdom, they didn't say was out there. The kingdom is within. Jesus was not the exception. He said, greater things shall we do. So I invite you to do greater things. Do we pray? Oh, let us pray. Sorry, I'm a little off on y'all's service today. Oh, we just take a moment to be in gratitude for the infinite, for this beautiful spiritual center called Unity Saxe, where we are reminded, not only on Sundays, but in our daily interaction with one another, the truth of our beingness. That the very breath that we breathe is the breath of the divine. That this body that we call ours is a temple, the temple of the divine. That the lavish, opulent, vibrant abundance of the universe is the truth and the inner pattern in every cell in our body, in our money, in our vocation, in our relationships. Everything is communion with the divine. We are never alone and we are never without. And from this moment on, we are anchored and rooted deeply in the truth of our I am identity. No shame, no blame, no guilt, nothing to forgive. Clear, pointed, anchored, committed to living this truth, to being the beautiful, perfect expressions of the divine, to allow that greatness to flow in as, through, to, and for us in any and every place that we are. Breathe that in with me. I am. Again, breathe in. I am. One more time. Breathe in. I am. And lastly, we know that for the finances of this beautiful center, we see that our bank account is running over, that there is more than enough and more and more and more good. And this community grows and grows and grows and grows, and its roots reach out and are not just a bright light in Saxe, but all over this metroplex and beyond. We give thanks. We call it good. We call it perfect. We call it done. And if you'll join me and say, and so it is.